It's time to take off your clothes, enjoy clothes-free living, and join us for Naked, Nudist, and Naturist.
Welcome to Naked, Nudist, and Naturist, the show that celebrates clothes-free living for all. I'm your host, Frank Stone.
And I'm your correspondent, Lisa Monroe, and I'll be reporting on all things within the naturist community. So it's time to get naked and join us.
And enjoy clothes-free living on Naked, Nudists, and Naturists. Well, greetings and welcome into Naked, Nudist, and Naturist, episode 57 today. We are really glad that you are here. We've been waiting for you all week. When the show ends, we say to each other, well, only 167 hours and our best friends will be back here again. So thank you for being with us today, episode 57. Come on in. As you know, the pool is fine. The hot tub is fired up. We are cooking fish on the grill today. A lot of requests for that. So your favorite fish is available today. Fruits and vegetables off to the right, cold drinks off to the left, hot drinks inside, and plenty of suntan lotion, towels, and chairs for all. We see that some of you brought along some desserts right by the door. A bunch of cakes, pies, cookies, you name it, it's there. We will enjoy today the sunshine, the breeze on our skin, the delicious food, enjoying clothes-free living for all of the right reasons. As a reminder, we are the official podcast for the American Association for Nude Recreation, AANR, AANR. Are you a member? If so, great. If not, you can become one today very easily. Just go to AANR.com, sign up to be a member, and last I checked, it was $64 a year. You can't go wrong with that. So join today, AANR.com, as they protect our rights to be nude, to be a naturist in society. Well, on today's show, we will talk to a gentleman from Miami, goes by the name of Jay. Once a month, he hosts a dinner at a local restaurant. The owner of the restaurant shuts the place down to local patrons. You must sign up, you pay a fee to get in, and guess what? The whole night is nude, drinks, dinner, music. You can hang out till 1 or 2 in the morning whenever you want to go home. A nudist, naturist dinner down in Miami once a week. We'll find out all about that. Lisa Monroe will be here to talk about some emails we recently received. We will respond to those. And our featured guest today and next week is Mitch London. You already know him. In addition to being the president of AANR over the last 2 years, he hosts his own cooking show on video/Vimeo. This dude cooks in the nude. Last I checked, he was up to 99 episodes, number 100 coming any day now. So Mitch London, this dude cooks in the nude. Again, you are listening to Naked, Nudist, and Naturist, episode 57 today. And now let's get to my brief interview with Jay from Miami, all about a nudist and naturist clothes-free dinner. We are headed to Miami, Florida this morning to talk to a gentleman who discovered nudism when he was in college. His parents used to drive by Haulover Beach a lot, but they never stopped. He was curious about it, got to college, checked it out, and that's it. Not going to a textile beach again. He's also part of a group that hosts a monthly dinner where everybody shows up in the nude, and you have drinks and you have dinner and you mingle with each other in the nude, non-sexual nudity, which is what we promote here. So let's bring him to the show this morning to find all about it. From Miami, Jay is with us. Good morning, Jay. How are you today?
Good morning, Frank. How are you?
Not bad at all. I'm guessing life is terrific in Miami because the weather is mostly terrific, other than when it gets wet. But other than that, it's terrific, right?
You're right. And if you don't have clothes, you don't have to worry about getting wet, hopefully. So
saves on laundry. You don't have to hang your clothes up outside. It's just you don't have any. So that's even better, right?
Even better.
All right. So what happened when you were a kid? Your parents would, because the road on Haulover they'd have to take to get from point A to point B, they'd pass Haulover a lot, and you'd ask questions, and they'd say, well, when you're 18, you can check it out, or is that the story?
Exactly that, literally. Growing up in a single-family home, very small, 2-bedroom, 1-bath. So, oftentimes we pass each other, right after showers and stuff like that, and we would get dressed in the room and, see each other nude often. And my mother would sometimes even do the laundry nude. So nudity wasn't a taboo as much in my home growing up. and we would go to South Beach or right around there, and then on the A1A back north towards to get to the highway to go east, or west, excuse me, back home.
Mhm.
They would pass by and sort of like elbow each other and say, "Hey, when you're 18, we're gonna take you to the nude beach," as a joke. And that always stuck with me, especially like growing up. And then I saw a National Geographic had like a documentary on naturism about Lake Como, about like it was like for the holidays or something like that,
Mhm.
and they showed this environment where everyone is completely nude and it's non-sexual and everyone like really happy, and they vet everyone that comes in, and I just thought, man, that sounds great because I love to sleep naked
Mhm.
all the time whenever I could. Whenever we eventually moved to another place where I had my own room, I could do that more often
Right.
because otherwise I was sleeping in the same room with my brother. But so yeah, and eventually in my 20s, I was like thinking, I really want to get a tan, but I really don't want tan lines and that image of my parents. Hey, when you're 18, you can go, and I just thought, why not take the leap? So I
All right.
eventually did and never looked back because there's no way you can go to a beach and have trunks on. It's just the worst feeling in the world.
Well, and plus it just doesn't make any sense at all. So once you tried it, that's it. You're hooked for life, right? You understand it's the way to go.
Absolutely, because when even now, like I have family on the west coast of Florida, and there's unfortunately no nude beaches there right now legally.
Mhm.
And I go there, and one, the sand is terrible, and two, having to be clothed, and I just feel like, like, and the people there too as well are very, this is my space, I have my cooler here, don't even look at it, you
Right.
know
That's
but
right.
I go to Hollover, and our group is very, there's parts they, there's people that I don't know because there's friends of friends and friends of friends of friends.
Right.
So but even then they come in and say, "Hey, nice to meet you, it's the first time meeting you, you want some watermelon, you want a water or whatever, I have extra." And it's the most giving community. Like I could go up to a random person, drop my stuff right in front of them, and say, "Hey, can you watch my stuff while I go in the water really quick?" And they have no problem.
Yeah.
Whereas if you were to do that in South Beach, you'd have all your stuff stolen. So
Oh, yeah, yeah, and that's what I've noticed too. We've talked about it in the show before. A textile beach, if you get within X number of feet from somebody, they give you that look like, "Hey, don't get any closer, pal." Whereas a nude beach, you get 1 inch away and everybody's happy. And like you said, they offer you a bottle of water, some watermelon, a sandwich. Hey, good to see you. Don't know your name, never met you before. Have a seat. Let's talk.
right, and for me as a very introverted person,
Mhm.
I really love that feeling of, whenever I'm ready, I can, walk down to the water with some people, and eventually like introduce myself, like, "Hey, how's, the weather's great," or whatever. And eventually, that those connections later on led me to like my current group now, and led me deeper into naturism, where I've gone to my first totally optional naturist campground and everything like that. The closest one here is Sunsport. So I've gone there many times over my my tenure, as I like to call it. Wouldn't have thought I would have been like that way if I was 10 years ago. So
Yeah, oh, definitely. So now you mentioned your mom, even when you were a kid, walked around nude. And before we started, you said you'll go to visit her. She'll be in the nude, walking around or showering. So she obviously has no problem with it, but she's never been to the beach with you, or she's not been even on her own, right?
not that I know of. And she's, yeah, like in between shower and her room or to dress, she's totally, doesn't doesn't mind. She comes home after work or after doing things on the weekend, it immediately is shedding clothes in her bathroom to change into her like normal
Hmm.
inside clothes, I guess, because she has
Right.
like a pajama set, and then so in between those, like you
Yeah.
could walk in and she can be topless or
Yeah.
completely nude, and it's like, hey, what's for dinner?
Yeah, exactly. And it's not a problem, which is how it should be. Now, let's talk about your dinner that you guys host once a month. It's at a restaurant. I think it's the same restaurant. I'll get that from you in a minute. Not the name of it, but whether it's the same place. And basically, the owner of the restaurant, part of your group, closes the place down, and you just have a nudist naturist get together for drinks and dinner. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, absolutely. it started about 3 years ago, just after Halloween, and they were on the beach. It's, oh man, isn't this just great that we can be nude here on the beach? And then the restaurant owner said, hey, I have this restaurant that has a large outdoor area with a stage that we can play music and host like meditation and all this other stuff, and we can be close free because it's private enough. It's on a corner, and you know, uh, my neighbors don't mind, and so that's where it started, and it goes from around 7:30 or 8 o'clock to 1 or 2 o'clock at night, and karaoke.
Mm.
We do authentic relating. There's meditation. There's fire spinning. There's live music, DJs. It depends on the month, but
Mhm.
it's usually a great time. So.
Wow, it sounds like a very good time. Now, I saw on your site that you sent to me there are two different prices. One is drinks only, one is drinks plus dinner. Is that usually how it goes?
Yeah, yeah. So, you can have, there's non-alcoholic and alcoholic drinks. Serve as you want, and be responsible, of course. And we're all very much in tune with people being a little bit too rowdy,
Mhm.
and so that's fine. But yeah, so if you want to eat there, it's a specific like Haitian food, and some people may or may not like it, and
Right.
so rather than having them pay $45, it's only 25, which is great, for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. And a nudist get together really isn't all about the food anyway, is it? When you get right down to it.
Absolutely not. It's about
Yeah.
the conversation and,
There you go.
just being yourself, like, singing whatever song. Like for me, I sing Whitney Houston terribly, but it's about the vibe.
That's right. Well, that's great to hear. And it sounds like you guys have a very good time doing that. If somebody is interested, if they live in the Miami area or if they're traveling there or just want to go and check this out, is there a way they can get a hold of you or the group and make some kind of arrangements?
We usually meet just north of, I think, Lifeguard Station 14, right by the water.
Hmm.
Usually, there's usually a group of us there if you're on Hollover. But as far as the event itself, it's usually near the end of the month on a Sunday. Most of the time, it's scheduled sort of in advance. But if you just show up on one of those nights and it happens to be there, then yeah, it's a WhatsApp group that I can sort of, I think, maybe get an invite link for as well. So that would be great. So, and that's where we post the link. So
Okay. About how many people show up on a monthly basis on the average?
I'd say around, a good 20, and, sometimes there are a lot more. And some
Mm.
people come in and then leave, very quickly, or, they just stop by to say hello. So it fluctuates around there, but it's a good amount.
Well, that sounds absolutely terrific. And Jay, I'm glad you got a hold of us. You've invited us down there for a dinner, and maybe one of these days we'll actually be able to get out of the studio for more than 5 minutes at a time and get down there and meet you and partake in this new dinner and just have a good time with you guys. But again, it's been Jay from Miami. Check it out. His link is in the show notes if you're interested in being a part of this nudist, naturist dinner, food and drink for all, music. It's just a good time. And Jay, thank you very much. Go out there and have a great clothes-free day. We'll talk again soon.
You too.
Thank you. The terrific Jay from Miami. Well, you ready to head to dinner with no clothes on? I certainly am, and I bet you are too. Check it out. His link is in the show notes. Jay from Miami, all about a nudist naturist dinner in Miami once a month. You are listening to Naked Nudists and Naturists, episode 57 today, and do you hear music in the background? As I was speaking there about Jay and his nudist naturist dinner in Miami, I thought I heard some music sneaking in. Let's listen closely. Yes, I think it is. It might be, it could be, it is our naturism correspondent, the completely over-the-top Lisa Monroe. And here she is, the one and only, the terrifically over-the-top, clothes-free, and smiling, our naturism correspondent, Lisa Monroe. Good morning, Lisa. How are you today?
Good morning, Frank. I'm doing really, really well. It's hot, it's sunny, life is good.
That's right. Now, you are fully clothes-free right now. Have you been clothes-free all week? Did you get outside? What's been going on?
And as much as I possibly could. I had some things I had to do in the textile world, unfortunately. But such a boring place. It's just
Yeah.
really boring. It's something you have to do. So
Yeah, of course, the majority of restaurants do expect and might even require clothing. Thank goodness we have at least one that once a month say, "Hey, come on in. It's clothes-free dining." Wouldn't that be great if we had our choice?
it would be wonderful if we had our choice, and especially, we have so many outdoor restaurants down here that you just choose to sit in the air conditioner sometimes because the humidity is so high. But if you
Yeah,
didn't have to have clothes on, you'd be perfectly comfortable.
that's how it should be.
Exactly.
Well, we have some emails this morning, and of course, we are the official podcast for the American Association for Nude Recreation. And we got an email, we got several emails actually from people outside the USA. And the one we're going to read is from Robert. I believe he's in Australia. Could be wrong about that, Robert. If I got the wrong country, I apologize. But a lot of international outside the USA people wrote in after we announced we're the official podcast for AANR. And Lisa, why don't you go ahead and read that email from Robert?
Okay, I'll be happy to. Hi. Been a while since I've written, but still listen to every episode. I just heard your announcement re AANR. As an international listener, I like the fact that you talk to people all over the world. I'm concerned that this may now change and your show will be too specific. One of the problems the rest of the world have with the USA is that your country forgets that there are billions outside your country. Please, can you keep the international content as naturism has no borders?
Okay. Now, I did respond personally to each person who wrote in. In essence, the answer is absolutely no issue. We're all about naturism, nudism, clothes free living for all the right reasons. We've never promoted the USA over anybody else. This is a worldwide thing, and we're promoting it. Our affiliation with AANR means we will probably have more ANR people on in terms of trustees or from the various regions, the different officers, maybe some staff members. Those would be mostly the short interviews in the front part of the show. You and I won't change our shtick at all, for lack of a better term. And the longer interviews will continue to be what they've been. People living the clothes free life all over the world. Everybody else who wrote in, a significant number of people from outside the USA wrote in and say, hey, don't do this to us. No, we're not doing anything. We still have it going on here for the entire world, clothes free living for all. And I'm guessing you agree.
Oh, I certainly agree. And I mean, our listeners are from everywhere. I mean, we counted up the countries once
Yeah.
and we're kind of shocked.
Yeah.
I don't think there are too many left that haven't listened at least once to us. So
Yeah.
it's, we are a part of this global community, and naturism is a global community. And I think the one good thing about our being part of this program and our being able to support them is that there are a lot of events that go on in this country. A lot of these organizations, these regions that are part of ANR, put on a lot of fun things for people. And I know that, you know, British Naturism, I'm sure every other naturism organization has some issues with gaining membership because it's kind of an issue everywhere. So perhaps our being able to give them some information about what's going on here could possibly help everyone
Mm-hmm.
to get information and to use some of those tactics to help their own communities.
Very well said. So we are affiliated with ANR. We are the official podcast for the American Association for Nude Recreation, but that does not mean we're going to diss or, or ignore our international people. We're still with you, and we know that you're still
Yeah.
with us.
And we've had so many wonderful guests from across the pond and
Mm-hmm.
further beyond that we couldn't possibly not want to have them back and have more people with those stories too, because all those stories just enrich everyone and help everyone.
Absolutely. Let's move to the next email. This is from a gentleman. Don't have permission to use his name, so I better not do it. It's from the USA, from North Carolina. I can say that, but he didn't write back to give us permission to use his name. But it's entitled Naked in the Locker Room. And Lisa, why don't you go ahead and read the beginning of that, and then I'll finish it off.
He says, enjoy the show and look forward to it every week. I'm a 68-year-old male closet nudist with wife who is a dedicated textile. I lift weights at the university sponsored gym. Lots of older people use it. In our locker room, the guys don't seem to mind being seen naked. No towel dance noted, and no one is trying to hide nakedness in the locker room. I did find your discussion interesting. I am also a registered nurse and used to seeing people of both genders not clothed for clinical reasons.
Okay, now I'll go ahead and finish it up. We are made to be ashamed of our bodies, hence the need for a towel dance, in quotation marks, in an all male locker room. Great show. Keep it up. And it's a gentleman from North Carolina. I have to be careful how I respond to this because I can get fired up pretty quickly. I am never, ever going to do a towel dance in the locker room. It's just not going to happen. That's the place where you do have your clothes off legally. You shower, you get
Yes.
undressed, you get dressed. That's the whole. Otherwise, why even have a locker room? You go to the gym, just change right there in the gym. You're going to be covered up anyway with a towel dance. The whole point of the locker room is to be naked and get your stuff done, right?
Absolutely. And the thing is if let's just say we're talking about a commercial gym. You buy membership. You walk in. You know other people are going to be naked. So why are you running around going, "Oh my God, they're going to see me"?
I know.
Oh, for heaven's sakes, people need to just grow up. And I just find it silly.
Yeah, and in my experience, the locker room experience, going back to high school, college, and beyond, everybody walked around naked. You got naked, you walked to the shower naked, you came back naked, and maybe you sat there for a while doing things, whatever, before you got dressed. It was just a place to hang out clothes free. So we appreciate the email from a gentleman. We're not going to name him, but from North Carolina. Glad that they don't do the towel dance there, for goodness sakes. And we have one more. Lisa, we're going to start a revolution here. It's not only clothes free and living for all, but shirtless men all of the time. We just have a really quick email from Armando. He's written in before. Why don't you go ahead and just read it? It's basically just 2 sentences. Go right ahead.
Armando is my kind of guy. He says, "We will start a movement, shirtless all afternoon, cleaning the boat."
That's right. He had sent a few emails this past week, different shirtless experiences he's had. And I don't get that. And again, it wasn't at the conscious level for me, but when somebody brought it up a few weeks ago, I realized very few men go shirtless as a normal course of action. And I don't mean when they go grocery shopping, but I mean if they're cutting the grass or pulling weeds out of their flower bed. Just about every guy has a shirt on. And when you and I were kids, we talked about before, every dad slash husband slash guy in the neighborhood was shirtless. It was
Yep.
just normal. So I don't know what's going on, but Armando is onto something. We need to start a revolution, don't we?
Yes, we do. And just let me ask you this.
Yeah.
How often did you go shirtless this past week?
Well, since those emails came in, I was basically shirtless all of the time.
Oh,
I drove around that way. I even pumped gas into my vehicle with no shirt on.
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Be still my heart. The
And-
revolution begins.
That's right. And I actually got, now this is not really what I did it for, but I got 2 horn beeps and 1 woohoo from some lady who was passing by.
Oh, really?
That is not why we go shirtless. It's,
No, it is not.
when the heat index is 105 degrees Fahrenheit, you're just not a well person if you have a shirt on.
No.
And men never used to, boys never used to. Now everybody does. Well, Armando and I have started a revolution. Guys, if you're out there, which you are, you're listening, you probably have your shirts off right now, unless you're driving along. Take your shirts off. You can have, as men, you can have your shirts off in public. No harm, no foul, no getting arrested. And once we get that established, then we'll turn our attention to women going top free. How's that sound, Lisa?
I was just going to suggest that you guys need to lead the movement, and we will be more than happy to follow along as you gain momentum.
Okay.
Because it's silly.
Yeah,
It's just silly.
absolutely. Now, the only exception, I had one exception this week. I had to go talk to a neighbor, and I don't particularly like or trust this neighbor, a woman. And I had to go talk to her about something. I thought, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna put a shirt on. I don't want anything misconstrued or misunderstood. As far as I know, she doesn't listen to our show, so why get into it and have to explain and defend to other people? So you went to her house with no shirt on. Whoa, what's going on? No, just okay. I got a shirt on for that. We'll work on that. Maybe down the road I will. Otherwise, shirt free, no matter where you go. Right? for you
Sugar-free
guys?
is wonderful, absolutely
Yeah.
wonderful, and let's hope that it catches on.
Yeah, well, catches on again.
Yeah,
Literally, when I think
true.
back to my childhood, there was not one guy in the neighborhood that ever wore a shirt ever during the spring, summer, and fall, winter. Yes, because it got cold where we were working outside. No, the shirt didn't come off. The shirt never went on. They'd walk out of the house with no shirt on, do their work, go in with no shirt on. I don't know what they did after that, but it just seems unbelievably silly. I'm glad Armando and some other people brought it to our attention.
I am too, and you're absolutely right. I mean, my father was a suit and tie kind of working guy,
Yeah.
and yet he never thought a thing about it. It wasn't anything that was out of the ordinary for him at all. And I remember many Saturdays where he put a shirt on when dinner time came. That he would refuse to not be shirtless at the dinner table. That was the only time I remember in the summer, if it was really hot, he ever put a shirt on.
Yeah. Just having some level of class, I guess, right?
Well, or my mother made him. I don't know, but more likely that. But anyway.
Okay, Lisa, great discussion today. We do have to head for the hills. You promise to be clothes free all week.
Always, as much as possible.
All right, that sounds good to me. Have a great clothes free week. We'll see you next time.
Okay, and you stay shirtless.
You got
Be
it.
good. Bye.
Okay. Bye. The terrific Lisa Monroe. We appreciate all that she does around here, runs our website, does these segments. And did you hear what she said at the end to me? She told me to stay shirtless. That was a directive not only to me, but to all guys out there. Why in the name of whatever do we wear shirts as men outside when the weather is warm or hot? I don't have an answer for that other than society basically expects it or protests a little if we run out to our mailbox with no shirts on. Well, enough of that nonsense, right, guys? All shirts off all of the time. Just enjoy life. It's totally legal. So you're not pulling any stunts. You're not taking any risks. And once we get men back to where we used to be in terms of I'm going outside, I have no shirt on and don't even think about it because it's normal, then we will get our attention fully focused on women as well. They have equal rights. They should be able to be top free as well if they want to. And if they don't, that's fine. But they should have a choice. Right now, they don't have a choice. We men do have a choice, so let's do it. Let's do it. Shirt-free living for all men. How about that? You are listening to Naked Nudists and Naturists, episode 57 today. And now let's get to part one of my interview with the very terrific current president of AANR, all about his cooking show, This Dude Cooks in the Nude. We are headed over to Texas this morning to talk to the current president of AANR, the American Association for Nude Recreation. We've had him on the show a couple of times now. We'll talk a little bit about AANR today, but mostly we're bringing him on to talk about his terrific video show, This Dude Cooks in the Nude. Let's bring him to the show this morning from Texas, MITCH London. Good morning, Mitch. How are you today, sir?
Hi, good morning. I'm doing well.
All right, good to have you back here. I'm guessing it's reasonably warm in Texas. You can get outside and nude and fun and frolic around and even cut your grass nude, as you posted on Twitter, right?
That's right. Absolutely. We've definitely had some warmer weather, not crazy hot, and actually some rain. We're enjoying whatever rain we get. Some parts of Texas getting a little too much.
Yeah.
But eventually it'll all soak into the ground and be beneficial. So
yeah, that's the way to go. And I liked how you put, I think you either put it on Twitter or maybe you told me you cut your backyard nude, but not your front yard because you can be seen out there. And, so you keep it as you should, right? Keep it appropriate.
absolutely. Yeah. I have the opportunity to mow the yard in the nude in the back. And, if it's a nice day out, I will, some of it's tree covered. And so there's still some shade, but you get the nice little patch of sun out there, and just the sun on the skin just feels amazing. Granted, you have to be careful for rocks getting kicked up from the mower and such, but it's an enjoyable experience, and not a lot of people get to do that.
And what the heck? If you get hit by a rock from the mower while you're nude, it's a small price to pay, right?
Exactly, and it's usually knees and below, so it's pretty safe.
We hope.
Yes.
All right. Well,
I do
we
get
ag-
some strange looks from squirrels and birds, though. They kind of like,
oh,
what?
bet, yeah.
So,
Hey, he's dressed like us. What's going on
exactly.
here? He
Yeah.
has nothing on him.
And that's actually the funny thing is, I've gone in my backyard fully dressed and seen squirrels and they take off, but I've gone in the backyard nude and they just kind of stare for a minute. They don't
Really?
run away right away. I'm like,
Wow,
interesting.
that really is. We
That
need
was, I don't
a
know. Yeah, we need a scientific study there or
We
something.
do. Little psychological
Yeah,
experiment. What's going on there? Maybe the animal world kingdom is more accepting of nudity than human beings in a general sense. That'd
that
be
would be
kind of nice.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the obviously we're in July here. The election for the new president is over. We agreed before we started. We're not going to get into the politics or the election or anything else. So my focus is on you, Mitch London. You've been the president the last 2 years. You're going to have about a month or so to go. What are you going to do with all of your time that you're suddenly going to get back?
Oh my goodness. I know the elections were, I mean, it's great that we had candidates that were both eager to help Anna and you know, the winner, will be is the president, but the loser will definitely not go away. They are going to still help, because it's not a fight campaign. This is, whoever wins, whoever loses, everybody's going to still help. So,
Right.
that's the best part.
Yeah.
They're still going to keep doing what they do for the benefit of Anna. And I love that. That's what I love about the organization. But as for me, my gosh, I mean, I still am still a full-time employee. So I
Yeah.
have that. And I've, just about 6 months ago, moved up to a full-time manager, and so now my time is even less. And
Yeah.
I've said to people, this is definitely a almost a retired person's job, or somebody that just has, not as much work,
Yeah.
because it is a lot of work. And I certainly did not realize that when I became president, how much work there actually was. And I've tried to make actually notes throughout my 2 year term, uh, things I wish I had known to start with, kind of a list,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'll be passing that along as soon as I can to the new president. Once I get the list complete and finished out. But I've got that, and I'm also the activities coordinator for Hill Country Nudists in Austin,
Mm-hmm.
and I have been for, gosh, probably the entire 2 year term here, plus my 4 year term as Anna Southwest president,
Yeah.
and beyond. That's kind of one of those things where you get the position and they hold on to you until you die. But I've got that, and I also do coin collecting. I was an officer for that for a while, and metal detecting. I was an officer for that, or actually a newsletter editor for that. Fairly recently, I've only been doing that for also about 6 months or so. So at the beginning of the year, they needed somebody, and I was the newsletter editor for the amateur radio club for 13 years. So I did that, and I burned out on that one, and so I basically dropped it and came back.
Yeah.
But now I'll be able to kind of pick up on a lot of those things and do some stuff. But as I said, like the whoever lost the candidacy, we don't want to name names here.
No.
We're just going to say.
Yeah. Right.
But whoever lost, they still will help Anna, and I'm still going to help Anna. I'm certainly
Yeah.
going to not just disappear,
Yeah.
because I definitely want Anna to succeed as best as it can, um, and that's why we have elections, is because maybe each president doesn't have the best idea, and the next one will have the best idea.
Yeah.
So it's good to have different ideas, because everybody's idea is definitely valued.
Yeah. And as we talked last time, when you're on a board or in management, whatever, a lot of people in corporate America have a hidden agenda. Like, I'll get on the board for this because I want to change it for the purpose of that. Well, with Anna, everybody is promoting naturism, nudism, close living for the benefit of all. So whether you win, lose, tie, whatever, you're still in the same game, right?
Yeah, we all want Anna to succeed. I
Yeah.
seriously don't think we have clothing people hidden in Anna that are plants or moles or whatever to take down Anna. I somehow
That's right.
don't see that happening.
Yeah, I didn't see anybody running in a blue jeans and t-shirts for all campaign.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, which is actually kind of a funny thing. I've also, during the pandemic, I had kind of written sort of a movie script that I wanted to do, and it's by no means fancy and detailed. It's just sort of a fun thing. It's a bunch of series of short skits,
Yeah.
and one of them is to do the takeoff of, like, a news reporter going to a clothing optional resort. It's a news reporter that's nude going to a clothing a nudity optional resort.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the same kind of thing where people would go to this resort, get dressed, and do activities. They'd go put on a bathing suit, go swimming. They put on clothes and walk around,
Yeah.
and a little just the opposite, and just kind of a tongue in cheek, spoof sort of thing. And that's the whole, idea of it. So
Yeah.
that's something I've written up, and it's been sitting on a shelf for a while, and maybe that's something I'll get back to at some point is to
Mhm.
actually start shooting that thing.
Yeah. Well, how long have you been involved, including the presidency, the last 2 years, in some level of leadership or some kind of duty involving naturism, nudism with a club or anything that you do? It's been a number of years, right?
Yeah, I basically started in nudism and naturism in 2010, and I first got onto the AANR Southwest board probably 4 or 5 years later,
Okay.
because basically I was 2 years for this presidency. Then I was president of AANR Southwest for 4 years.
Okay.
So that's six. And then
Mhm.
I was on the board in one way or the other as vice president or one of the other board members, the at-large members,
Mhm.
for probably 4+ years.
Wow.
So I mean, it's almost been probably a good decade, at least, on boards one way or the other. I got
Mm.
roped into it by Lucy Hyde, who is the current Inner Southwest president,
Okay.
and so you know, and I think she's looking, to retire as well from it. I think she just finished her last term as well,
Yeah.
because they go through June, so they can have all their elections and such done, and then in August when we have our thing coming up, so they'll have just finished, and then the new one will be taking over in August.
Okay. Is every ANR election, whether it's a national office or these various locales, are they all 2 year terms that can be renewed once? So you get a total of four, or not necessarily?
I think that's typically the case.
Okay.
I know it is in the Southwest, like, or the president, you can have a maximum of 2 2-year terms, and that way they basically force the issue of that way you don't have a dictatorship, as it
Yeah.
were,
Yeah.
and that never helps.
No.
But they yeah but what they will do is like on our Southwest board is like we have our secretary treasurer, which a good secretary treasurer is always hard to get, somebody that knows the books and does it well, and
Yeah.
so if you can get them, hang on to them.
Yeah.
And so what they'll do is they'll do 2 2-year terms there, and then they'll go become the vice president, and then they'll go back,
Okay.
but they'll still help,
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So they'll bounce around, and I guarantee you, if they're not doing a good job, they will not be around for another 2-year term. It's like
That's
they
true
keep
too.
going to trips to Hawaii. We don't know why we don't have any money. I don't know, but
Yeah, that can get old pretty quickly. So after 10 years or so, or 10 plus years of leadership, management, this committee, that committee, you're going to stop for a while. But I just have a feeling, you haven't said this, but I have a feeling we haven't heard the last of Mitch London in terms of the leadership role with Anna. What do you think?
yeah, probably so,
Yeah.
because I enjoy writing articles for the bulletin, all the time. And
Mm.
I definitely have ideas that I want to help with. And the good thing is, not being president, I can focus on that idea for
Yeah.
either a fundraising idea. Just this year coming up in August, not much more than a month away is the convention,
Yeah.
and we're gonna have we have some silent auctions, but we've also been doing like an online type of we've had resorts donate like a stay at their resort that we're able to raffle off, so people can go in and buy tickets. And
Hmm.
by now you're probably seeing that in the bulletin, because the
Mm.
bulletin comes out once a month, but we're so, and that's also a fundraiser for the government affairs team, and that's going to be a big thing. And that came from the Naturist Education Committee, with our current our Secretary Treasurer David Levine.
Mhm.
They run a raffle every year, and they say, yeah, we don't run the raffle. There's an outside company that you basically say, here's the stuff we have to raffle. Y'all hold it, because a lot of times nonprofit organizations can't have raffles or can't have certain things, so we have to kind of skirt around that by having somebody else run the raffle, and we just say, here's the prizes, and then y'all give us the money, they take their cut. I think that's how it works. So
Yeah.
ideas like that to help raise funds, especially for the government affairs, which has been exceedingly busy the past 2 years, 3 years now. So
Yeah.
and work on ideas like that, and other, ideas to keep people interested and draw in members, or at least, be somewhere, be at a club, at a resort, and definitely promote AANR,
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest things is to actually go somewhere and promote it. Because you can say you want to promote the organization, but if you don't actually go out and do it, or hope somebody else will do it, you might not get what you want. So,
Yeah. Well, we've even had that with some former presidents of the United States. They serve their term or terms, and then they're free of the daily duties, and they can go out in the world and do good. The first guy who comes to mind is Jimmy Carter.
oh my gosh. Oh yeah. I mean, how many houses has he built?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
my gosh. And he's been still doing it in his 90s.
Yeah, and he can do it without the nonsense and the stress of you got to call this person back. This person's mad at you. Just hey, I'm just here to help. So you have the knowledge now, and you can help in many ways.
Yeah,
Help
and
Anna,
it
right?
was not Jimmy Carter Republican, Jimmy Carter Democrat. It was
Yeah,
Jimmy Carter doing it,
yeah, it
and
didn't
it
matter.
did not
Yeah,
matter. It was
yeah,
just, yeah, that's the beauty of it.
yeah,
So yeah, I think that's the great kind of thing is, like I say, you can kind of pick your projects at that point. You
yeah.
don't have to work on 12 different things. You can pick one and go that way and say, here, let's get this done and do it the best we can.
That's right. Well, last question for you then on Anna, and then we do want to dive in. We're talking to Mitch London, current president of American Association for Nude Recreation. We want to dive into your show, This Dude Cooks in the Nude. But last question for you.
All right.
I've been in a number of roles as well, management, head dude, CEO, whatever you want to call it, and on boards. And I entered every position the same way you kind of sort of did. Okay, I think I got this. I understand. And then you walk in, it's like, whoa, I wasn't expecting this, or I didn't know this was part of the job. And it kind of adds up day after day after day. By the time you're done, it's like, wow, that was nothing like I expected. I still got some of the things done that I had planned to do, but I had no idea that these things existed.
Oh
And
yeah.
you mentioned that too. You got in there, it's like, whoa, what's going on here? Without giving secrets away or anything that's confidential, anything you can share with us that you learned after you got the job?
I knew that the government affairs team did stuff, but I did not realize how much
Okay.
that they do for AANR. They get access to a software that tracks bills in every state legislator across the United States and Canada,
Mm.
and they are always on the lookout. I just recently got a list of various bills from Bob Morton, who was on the government affairs team and was also on the TNSF Naturist Action Committee for both, for a while, but now he's just with us. And he sent out a list of, like, here's a bunch of bills that we've been flagged, and why we flagged them, and what we want to have happen with them. And it's just like, some of them it's amazing that how a bill will get submitted to do one thing, and then it'll get amended and amended, and then all of a sudden it has nothing to do with what it is.
Yeah.
One of
Yeah.
the basic things was, it was like, this is a bill against housing or something for something, and all of a sudden it's now a bill against child pornography. It's like, well, wait a minute, how in the world did it get from one to the other? And it's
Yeah.
just amazing. So yeah, legislation scares me nowadays.
Yeah.
But thank God we have our government affairs team, which is well worth every single penny that we spend on it, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, a lot of what goes on with government, I don't know, I don't think Anna works this way, but just in terms of government, somebody has a bill for whatever. Let's just take it out of naturism, nudism for a minute. I want to build a 100-mile road from point A to point B. And so that's how the bill goes. And somebody else says, well, I'll vote for it if you add my personal project, which is another road,
Hmm.
500 miles away. Okay, so now we got two things. And by the time the bill is actually voted on, it didn't look anything like the original intent is still there, but so are 10 billion gazillion other things, right?
Yeah, it's all the riders that
Yeah.
people put on, and it might not even be road related. It might be,
Right.
oh, I need
Right.
libraries or
Right.
something. Yeah.
That's right.
So yeah, it's the you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours kind of thing. And I
Yeah.
know that goes on in state legislature. Fortunately, that does not go on in ANR. Any motion that we ever
No.
have
Yeah.
is always about that specifically, because that just gets into
Yeah.
a sticky can of worms.
Yeah. And you can't promote that with a straight face to the constituents if you start playing those games. Like governments do, around the world. And sad to say, but so that would be the main thing you learned
That's
after you
yeah.
got
I
the job.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah. There's just so much. I mean, like I said, I made a list that's now about 2.5 pages long
Wow.
of everything, and I even have it broken down by month. Like, okay, here's things that the president should do this month because of upcoming things, and some of it be like 3 months from now we're going to have such and such, so you need to get ready for that. You need to send out an agenda. You need to
Mhm.
you learn how to make an agenda. You learn how to do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, it's definitely a big learning process, and anybody that runs for president is going to have a lot of work ahead of them.
Hmm.
And I know both Tim and Linda had a lot of background in different areas, and
Hmm.
so I just hope anybody that runs in the future looks at what we've done and realizes that it's not just a figurehead position. It's
Right.
there is a lot of work. I mean, I have meetings every week with the executive director, the vice president, and the secretary treasurer via phone every single week for
Mm-hmm.
the past 2 years
Yeah.
about what's going on currently. Because
Hmm.
otherwise, because we only have the big meetings twice a year,
Yeah.
and then we have an interim meeting twice a year. So that's 4 meetings a year. Uh, to get your information across to all the other regions and presidents, it's like that's just not enough. So
No.
we
No.
you know we have our weekly meetings, which that I didn't know anything about, which I was dubious at first about them, like that's gonna be boring, but it's like
Yeah.
no, I've learned so much. We get updates on all our activities, issues that clubs might be having, or individuals that might say, oh, my neighbor saw me nude, what can I do about it? And they contacted AANR
Hmm.
and got some help there. Or clubs are like, hey, we need help with such and such, and if you're an AANR club, you get certain benefits that can help fund some projects that you're working on. Whether just a few months ago we had somebody, a club, need some funds to help rebuild a road that got washed out during a big rainstorm, and so they were able to get a super low interest loan from AANR
Oh,
to help cover those costs. Because a lot of times, just regular banks were like, oh, we don't want to donate, we don't want to give money to a nudist place. That's we don't want that. So
yeah.
this cuts that whole application process out, and it's like, okay, we know who you are already, and you just have to tell us what the project is, and then the committee determines whether that's acceptable and contends. So I mean, I learned so much about all the committees that we have.
Yeah.
We have the government affairs team, we have the youth committee, which every year has been putting on a youth camp, and you see the ads in the bulletin every year for donations to the youth camp, where people can actually donate money to help cover the costs of the kids that are going to the youth camp. And the kids are like 5 to, I think, 16, 17 years old that go to these youth camps. And it's I think it's a 4 or 5 day long weekend type camp, and they have to feed the kids every day, they have to house the kids, because basically it's held at one of the nudist resorts
Hmm.
that basically shuts down that week, so that they're not inundated with everybody else excuse me, and that all the kids can come out and do the activities, the games, the fun, the learning, and all that. So
Right. Uh,
that's another thing I learned.
Yeah.
It's just amazing how much stuff there actually is going on.
Yeah, and having those weekly meetings, it keeps you from being blindsided 6 months down the road. Something you didn't know but had been brewing, but nobody told you because you hadn't talked to anybody, hadn't met.
Yeah.
So keeping up on it weekly, it's like, hey, there's a storm brewing here. We might want to get out in front of.
Oh
That
yeah,
helps with that
and
too.
and we that's what we did in Hawaii just recently.
Yeah.
Is that's probably the most recent thing, is some legislation in Hawaii that Bob Morton told us about, and we were like, oh, we need to do something. And he's like, well, I have a lobbyist in mind that lives out there and would be beneficial, and it turned out to be very accurate that we needed it. And lobbyists are not free. They certainly do not work for free,
Yeah.
but you get what you pay for. If you buy $100 lobbyist, you're going to get $100. You get you get NRA money, and you got, $100,000 lobbyists, they're going to do whatever they want, but, we
Yeah.
don't have that kind of money, but,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. And again, if you had waited 6 months because you didn't know about it, it would have been too late, right?
oh yeah, yeah. It's much better to find out about the legislation now and be able to do something about it, rather than find out, oh, this got passed. Now you have to find a workaround.
Oh, that takes a lot longer. It
Oh yeah,
could be,
to
yeah.
try to undo something
Oh, yeah.
is nigh impossible.
Years, if not decades, and maybe never. Once
Exactly.
it's in, All right. Well, good to hear an update. Talking to Mitch London, current president of American Association for Nude Recreation. And now, Mitch, let's turn to the purpose of the interview, which is all about your video show, This Dude Cooks in the Nude. It says on your website, which is thisdudecooksininthenude.com. It says, I became a nudist officially in 2010. I've been cooking for much longer, and I enjoy both very much. Well, that makes perfect sense to me. But how did you get to the point where you decided, you know what? Why don't I throw these things on video and have at it? How did all that come to be?
Well, like a lot of things that came and went during the pandemic, that was one that showed up. I
Yeah.
was the activities coordinator for Hill Country Nudists,
Okay.
and we are a travel club,
Yeah.
and we could not travel. We did not do house parties. We did not much of anything.
Yeah.
And I had to figure out what in the heck we could do. And of course, there's Zoom meetings at the time when Zoom became a big thing that started becoming a household term.
Yeah.
And so we would try to do, Zoom online get togethers and maybe play some games. There's some Zoom type games you can play. And it was kind of a lackluster response. People were like, what's this Zoom thing? I don't know anything about it, yada, yada,
Yeah.
yada. And so, and the house parties that we would throw were 99% potluck type parties. So people would either buy a dish or cook up a dish. And I'd always cook up something, and I always enjoyed doing that. And so I thought, well, I could maybe do a cooking show. I have a video background. My degree is in communications, and
Okay.
so I have been doing television broadcast and various aspects like that for decades now. And so I had a camera and I had my kitchen, and I put the two together, and I've been watching cooking shows for just as long.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, I can do a cooking show for nudists by nudists, basically. And so it's basically how it started. And it was just a simple little show. My very first true episode was the how to make a Reuben sandwich. And I just basically said, can I make a Reuben sandwich in one go? So I just turned on the camera and just started going, and I did everything. There was no edits, no nothing, just go, 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 go.
Mhm.
Nothing fancy. Not even the graphics weren't fancy. You can go back and see the early episodes where some of the graphics are fairly basic, and whatever came in the editing program,
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And and it turned out it was fun. It was cute, and it was like, I think 7 or 8 minutes long or something. However long it took to make a Reuben sandwich, and stuff like that. And over the years, it's grown, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's been over 3 years, and I'm approaching 100 episodes. So
Hmm.
it's like, wow, this certainly went on longer than I thought. Now that the literal pandemic part is over,
Yeah.
yeah, it's still happening. So it's kind of one of those little fun little projects that just kind of keep on going.
Yeah. Well, you can't stop now.
It's
People
hard
enjoy
to,
the show so much. Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Any response on the nudity part? I'm guessing from nudist naturists, no problem, and that's what they do. They expect it from you. But what about other people? They want to watch cooking shows. They put yours on. They say, "Well, my gosh, the guy has no clothes on." Any response along those lines, or no?
I've never had anybody write a response about it, one way or the other, really. That's the interesting thing is I don't get a lot of comments on the videos on the Vimeo website, which hosts the videos, and then I just link them to my website.
Right.
Because on my website, I don't have comments on there, just because it's like I don't, you know, stay on the website and filter all the comments. I don't have time to do that. So I just like,
Right.
if you want to leave a comment, go to the Vimeo website and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I've got, I think 700 followers on Vimeo now. And so,
Wow.
people, they'll like the video, that kind of thing, but
Yeah.
they don't respond to it verbally in any real way. Some people
Yeah.
is like, oh, I love that. But when I do get a fair number when I post it on Twitter, they'll, people will comment there because it's easy to comment. And I posted on Naturist Hub, and I posted on a couple of the subreddits, the nudism subreddit,
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. So I get, the like emojis, the hearts and all that, and the thumbs up, but
Yeah.
not a lot of verbal response. But the only time I really got a big, as I call it, the big fat hairy no, was when I tried to post it on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I went on and I did my research. I went on YouTube's website and looked, and it says if it's not sexual, it can be, by their definition. And they even had a little video that says, if it's nudity, but it's not in sexual, it's not this, it's not that, then that would be okay. So I was like, okay, so I think a cooking show is a non-sexual activity. So I
Yeah.
just posted a couple episodes, and 3 days later, it's like, you have violated our terms of da 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 da,
Jeez.
and they shut it down. And I said, I
Oh.
appeal, and like 5 minutes later, denied. And it's
Jeez.
like, you're literally not obeying your own rules.
Right.
And I kind of had a little time where I was like, I actually contacted AANR and said, hey, can we write a letter? Can you help me draft up a letter, official looking to send to YouTube? And so we did. We sent up a letter and certified mailed it and sent it, and they just basically ignored it because they're YouTube.
Oh.
They can do that.
Yeah.
But the funny part is if you go into YouTube and Google certain things, like you can find, quote, sexy women underwear videos. So it's just women modeling underwear in a sensual manner.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so that's far more sexual than what I am cooking on a TV show.
Oh gosh.
And those are fine. There's tons of those out there, but me, yeah. So I think it just boils down to, when you appeal something. I've heard this from some people. They say, yeah, when you appeal something, somebody supposedly looks at it and they get the determination. But a lot of that stuff is overseas, farmed out overseas, where culture is different. Staring at videos all day long also could get very tedious, and they're just like, yeah, I don't like that. So
Yeah.
it boils down to one person's like, I don't like that. Oh, I don't want to see a naked guy doing that. And I'll click delete, whatever.
Wow.
So I don't know. There's a lot of theories that float around as to why, and that's kind of the battle that I've just let drop to the wayside.
Yeah.
And maybe once my term ends in a month or so, I can pick that back up and start the fight again. I don't know.
That's right. Well, I saw a couple of videos that people have sent to me. One was just over the last weekend. It was a modeling deal, a fashion show for jewelry for women. They had earrings and rings and whatever. Zero clothes on. Absolutely every model, probably 10 of them, totally nude, came out in front of the audience and to show off the jewelry. And the explanation is, well, we don't want you focusing on their clothes. We want you to focus on the jewelry. Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's going to happen. Yeah.
And that's on YouTube. And it's no problem, no harm, no foul. Yeah, great. They're focusing on the jewelry. No big deal.
Yeah.
And the other was a medical one, like a college lecture hall. Women brought this guy out totally nude and examined various parts of his bodies, medically speaking, of course. And he was nude the whole time. Again, no harm, no foul. So then we get to you, Mitch London. This dude cooks in the nude. To me, that's no harm, no foul. Actually, less harm, less foul than the other two that I mentioned, because you're really not going for the sexuality piece. You're going for, you're a naturist, a nudist. You love to cook. Let's have at it.
Yeah.
Yet they still knocked you off. Huh?
Yeah, and I don't do innuendos. I don't make suggestive. Oh well, let's cook some beans and wieners here, or what. I don't do that. There's no close-ups of any part of the body ever.
Right.
No gratuitous anything. But I still think that whoever does the it could be an algorithm for all I know, but whoever does the thing looks at the video, and if it's they may look at it for 3 seconds, say, oh, there's nudity, click, gone, delete. So I doubt that they watched the whole episode to see what it was. They probably skip through it and say, oh, there's it's hard to tell what they do. So I've kind of dropped that fight for now, and I just focus. I found Vimeo allows nudity, and as long as, again, it's not sexual in nature, they're fine with it, and so I can post all the videos there for free. And then I link them to my website, and so that works out just fine.
Yeah. The very terrific Mitch London, all about his show today. This Dude Cooks in the Nude. The link is in the show notes, so check it out and learn how to make some great dishes. And next week on episode 58, part 2 of my interview with Mitch London, This Dude Cooks in the Nude. Well, you've been listening to Naked, Nudist, and Naturist, episode 57 today. We give you a brand new show every Saturday morning at 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. Continue to join us. Check us out on our website, nakednudistandnaturist.com, Spotify, Google, Amazon/Audible, Apple Podcasts, and also on Twitter. You can write us anywhere, anytime, any place. And we thank you for being with us today. Plan to join us for every single one of our shows here and have your clothes off when you're listening. We have our clothes off when we're broadcasting, enjoying the naturist life.
We celebrate clothes-free living for all. Remember to enjoy being naked and join us again for Naked, Nudist, and Naturist.
We drop a brand new show every Saturday morning, so come back and join us. Have your clothes off when you do for Naked, Nudist, and Naturist. Have a great clothes-free day.